Hi, I'm Lisa Alexander, the editor of Edible LA magazine, and this Storyteller issue was really fun for me. Los Angeles food writers don't always get the spotlight, so it was really fun to make this about them. And what does a food writer in Los Angeles do? They really shape how we experience food. So it's all about what they choose to cover, how they choose to cover it, and what's most important to me, I think, is the lens through which they're writing. So we're going to be talking about that and a bunch of other stuff here, and I'd like you to introduce yourself briefly.
I'm Jenn Harris. I am one of the restaurant critics at the Los Angeles Times.
Hi, my name's Esther, and I am a freelance writer.
Esther, name the outlets.
Oh, the outlets. So like Bon Appetit, Food and Wine, LA Times, all over the place. Yes. Yes. Freelance.
Hi, I'm Trinh, and I'm also a freelance writer. I've written for LA Times, New York Times, Food and Wine, Eater.
I'm Danielle Dorsey. I'm the senior editor of food guides at the LA Times. I'm Khushbu Shah. I used to be the restaurant editor at Food and Wine magazine for many years. I wrote a cookbook called American, which is available wherever cookbooks are sold. Except for Chevalier on Larchmont. I popped in the other day and I was like, where's my book? So, I'm in a little beef with them. Not actually, it's a lovely bookstore, you should totally support them. And then I also write, actually Danielle is also my editor at the LA Times. When I write for them, I also write for the New York Times. Eater, Bon Appetit, still write some stuff for Food and Wine. And I'm doing a monthly contributorship to KCRW actually, which is really fun.
I'm good. I'm Mona Holmes. I'm an editor for Eater Los Angeles and a contributor to KCRW.
Okay, so first off, I'd like to hear a little bit about your creation story about why you started writing about food. And most importantly, again, it's how that informs the lens through which you write.
I'll start. Where do I start? It has a lot to do with how I grew up and where I grew up in Los Angeles. So on my mom's side, my mom is Chinese, and my grandmother would babysit us, my sister and I, all the time, and basically introduced us to all the wonderful restaurants around the San Gabriel Valley. Dim sum halls, Hong Kong-style cafes, everything in between, Szechuan food. So I grew up with an understanding and appreciation for all types of cuisine, especially in the San Gabriel Valley. And then on my dad's side, Russian, British, Jewish, that grandma also was very into food, cooking, taking my sister and I out whenever she was babysitting us as well, all over the city. So, I mean, I guess I feel like it was always inevitable that I would that I would end up in food, having something to do with food. But from a young age, I feel like food was always my favorite form of how someone shared their story. I feel like when someone serves you food, they are sharing a piece of themselves with you. They're telling you something about themselves. And so it's my favorite type of story to consume and also share. So I feel like it's meant to be that I was supposed to do this.
So as far as I basically came up during the blogging days, if you remember, it was a very specific time. But as far as it was the influencer of the day, I should say. Yeah, the OG. And I have to be honest, and I did not know I always wanted to write. I did not know I always was interested in food. But I think as a natural progression of maybe growing up as an extreme minority. I was born and raised in Wisconsin, and then I came to UCLA I stayed in LA. I just realized how food was so different each spot. and the appreciation and the way people appreciated it. And so it just really inspired me. And the blog was a way to basically explore that. And it became a professional thing for me, and I'm just really lucky. So.
When I started writing, like early in my media career, I was just writing just about everything, like breaking news and entertainment and food. But food was the most fun, and then like once I decided to go freelance, actually a decade ago, I was just, I was like, oh, I get to write about stuff I'm already doing, like chasing food trucks and finding hidden gems. But then I got to sit down with a lot of people and just talk all the time. And I love that storytelling aspect the most of like you're just sitting at a table and people are like laughing and crying about like their passions and their families and their cultures. And that has sort of evolved for me and like what I want to cover, which is like about people who are trying to preserve their communities and their cultures, people who are trying to change the way we do things, and people who are like helping their communities.
I came to food through travel writing. If you love to travel, then I'm sure you know that food is a huge part of what is amazing about travel. I'm deeply interested in history, deeply interested in how food informs culture and place. And it was when the pandemic happened that, of course, we were not traveling. And I really honed in on local food and really haven't looked back since.
I have that classic, I was pre-med, thought I was going to be a doctor. Decided that food writing was somehow way more fun. And I don't, people ask me all the time how I got into it. I don't know, I was like raised on the Food Network. I'd watch Giada, Ina, go do my homework. And then I realized in college I didn't 110% want to be a doctor, much to my parents' dismay, though now they claim they never told me to go to med school, which is an incredible rewriting of history. And I also realized, I went to NYU, so I was in New York, which is just like such a crazy fun food. Oh, as a fellow Violet, we have a terrible mascot. There's oh yeah, and the Violets. It's a combo. Anyway, sorry. I digress. I realized really early on that everybody has a relationship to food, even if they don't think they do. Even in thinking that you don't have a relationship to it, you do have a relationship to it. And I found that to be really fascinating. And then as someone who is a child of immigrants, like, I also realized really quickly, that food was kind of like the first and last bridge to culture. It's the last bridge that sort of survives, even if you're not in tune with language, maybe it's religion, other cultural customs, you've never been to the country, of your heritage, et cetera. But it's also the easiest bridge to build back. You can go to a restaurant, it's cheap, it doesn't require lessons, it doesn't require like a kind of a high barrier of entry that other points of culture, do. And I've always thought that that's like a really beautiful thing. And so that's informed a lot of my writing and the stories that I like to pursue.
I got into, none of our trips very few of us are linear. But because after college I worked at jobs that didn't pay a lot, and so I waited tables a lot. And that supplemented my ability to travel, to live in LA in the 90s, which you could very well do on a waiter's salary, with always having cash. And so I got to really explore a really great time in LA that was also a little scary, but also quite awesome. But having that lens of working in front of the house is valuable. And I find it still fascinating. I say this all the time. It's a kind of a miracle to get 4 plates out on a table at the same time. And it takes a ton of skill and relationships and partnering with vendors, figuring out what to do when a delivery doesn't land. And, like when I watch and see operators and chefs and what they do in LA, it makes me want to dig a little bit deeper. And also, like some of my other friends here have said, it's just a fun thing to report. I love it. I love the people that I've met through this. And also there's another part of it. I'm a bit of a loner, and writing is a really great career to do if you are, and I'm fully okay with that. You get to sit with your thoughts and turn it into something that you hope people will read. So that's sort of my path.
Yeah, it's interesting listening to all you, because the media world has really changed. And, like you're working for big institutions, and you two are freelance. And how many of you have Substacks? Just one, right?
Please subscribe. It's called Tap is Fine.
Exactly.
Read it, it's good.
Really good.
But
Very
like
good.
this is probably a room full of creators, and there used to be these huge gates, which have now all come tumbling down. So how do we create our own content at a place like this if we want to do food media, which is, and Substack too has given the reins to the writers in a way that we never had before, which is really exciting too. So, it's super different when you're writing an article for 50 cents a word, and then you've got Substack and you can get subscribers and make 250,000 a year. And that's really interesting for a writer, because that was never at all available to us. Okay, so eating for a living.
Yeah, I'm definitely not making that. So please subscribe.
Well, you hear about these things.
Would really love to be making that.
You do hear about these things, right? And then
Need
you
to
see
make
these
friends with them.
subscribers, and you kind of do the math, and you go, wait, that's perfect. Anyway, whatever. Eating for a living. So it seems very glamorous, but I'd like to know about the joys and challenges. Like when I interviewed Jenn, she said sometimes she's eating 6 dinners a day. 6 meals the whole day.
Dinners.
Right. Okay, but still, So tell us a little bit about how you manage that. And also, there's another little piece of this, which is restaurant critics used to be anonymous, and now the cat's out of the bag. So that adds another little wrinkle in here too.
Yes, for many reasons. But okay, so first I should have brought a photo of my medicine cabinet for you all. Become intimately familiar with my stomach issues. It's a lot of eating all the time. So, I mean, say we're doing a list on chili cheese fries. I'll try to space it out so maybe my review that week isn't like a heavy French bistro. But sometimes you can't really do anything about it. You just kind of got to eat. You obviously have to eat more than a couple bites to get the gist of what you're eating. I travel with an ice chest in the back of my car because I have leftovers constantly. But I guess personally, I walk. That's one thing I do to try and stay sane and try to be a little bit more healthful is I walk 5 miles a day, no matter what. No matter what I'm doing, I make sure I do that just for health reasons. But it's all about balance. It's hard. And yes, when you're not anonymous, I mean, I tried to open Resi and OpenTable accounts, but you have to have a credit card linked to it, and that has to be under your name unless I commit fraud. You used to be able to. I have some colleagues who have some credit cards under different names, which is great, but you can't do that anymore. So if I can, I have friends make reservations for me under their names, which is great. But sometimes if I've interviewed the chef before, they know it's me when I walk in. So then all of a sudden I ordered 3 dishes and 7 show up at the table. Which is hard. And also though, years ago, I would feel so bad and feel obligated. And I was like, they're so kind that, they sent this out even though I didn't order it. And I try to at least eat it or take a couple bites just to be, appreciative. But now I don't do that. I'm like, thank you so much. And also I have to pay for it. So even though you're not putting it on my bill, I'm tallying up how much it actually costs, and then I'm adding that onto the tip. So I do end up paying for it, since we are not allowed to take comped dishes. And then, yes, if I don't eat it, it's not because I don't like it or I'm just so full, I need to lie down. So, yes.
So my quantity challenges aren't as unsurmountable as Jenn's. So I kind of have the luxury of just stopping, and they'll send stuff out. So to be clear, I do take a lot of PR dinners, and that's something that an LA Times critic is not able to do. And so I just stop eating and I take the rest home, and then I'm able to eat it for lunch because I don't have to eat 10 other things at 10 other. I don't get to. So that is a natural way. And I have a membership at the athletic club, and I try and like if I travel, maybe I'll try if it's a snow destination during the winter, I'll go snowboarding. I've done bike packing trips where I've had to work for the calories, and you like So I try and fit in like some little bit of sports in there if I can. But other than that, in this stage of life, it's getting harder and harder. As far as alcohol, I had my friend buy a bunch of these Japanese alcohol like patches that help you. They work. They work. They're called Kiwami patches, and you got them at that crazy store Don Quixote. That's like a crazy fun house kind of store, but they work. And then I know like there are a lot of Korean like drinks and jellies and stuff that also combat alcohol because I need help processing alcohol and mixing. I write a lot about bars. I pick the voters for the world's 50 best bars, and so I travel a lot. A lot of the travel is because people want me to see their bars. And so I have a lot of like palate fatigue. I just sometimes want a beer or a highball, but I basically don't finish any drink anymore. So just to keep sane. Yeah.
I was always the person who would always order pork belly, and now I'm kind of like, well, last year I was like getting close to high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and then I was like, oh, I got to change the way I eat. So now I'm a little more conscious of like what I order, and I try to eat just a few bites of things, and I also cook a lot, so lots of veggies, and I do spin. So.
Yeah, a lot of what's already been mentioned. I also try to get like 10,000 steps a day. I cook really simply when I'm at home. But I think another thing that isn't talked about that often that is at least very exhausting for me is the social aspect. I'm an introvert, and so going out to dinner, even if I'm going out by myself, just like being in a restaurant where there's a lot of people takes a lot out of me. So that's been something I've had to like kind of gauge, and I try to limit my dinners, and sometimes I'll be going to lunches instead, which is often a little bit more chill. But I try to limit it to like 3 or 4 a week. 3 is like ideal because then I get like 4 days at home where I can like restore and recuperate. But yeah, that's kind of what I do.
So when I was the restaurant editor at Food and Wine, I was responsible for finding all the best new chefs in the country. So I was always on a plane, and I always had 48 to 72 hours in a city to kind of eat through. I've never done 6 dinners, but I have capped out at 3 in one night, and that was painful. Never do it again. I got to the point where I started limiting double dinners as a no-go anymore on my end. That used to be a thing that people love to do. It was like call it a bang bang. Yeah. There's certain restaurants I avoid even to this day because I call it getting food fucked when the chef just sends out way too much. It's like it's inhospitable hospitality at that point. And you know, it's truly the biggest champagne problem to be like, I cannot go here because the chef is just gonna send out 17 plates of pasta and also what they call the around the world, which is every dessert on the menu. Sounds great. And then I remember taking friends on like some of these, like we call them scouting for best new chefs, and I would put them through 1 weekend of scouting, and they're like, I'm never gonna eat again. I was like, correct. That's how you would sort of feel that way. I remember like, I'm writing a book on this that will hopefully sell in the next couple of weeks, so fingers crossed. But I would do this thing called, I had like the ginger ale scale. I knew it was getting bad. Like the more ginger ale I needed to ginger I needed to consume to get through any sort of meal. Like, and when ginger ale wouldn't do it anymore, it was like a ginger beer. And then when it wasn't that, it was just like straight, just like bitters. And water, and just like, but it's like a 50-50 ratio, which no one should ever do. Truly disgusting, but that's what you got to do. Now in retirement, it's not so bad. Freelancing is a little bit easier, as far as that, but I'm still doing crazy things where it's like finding all the best bagels in Los Angeles, and it's like, you just eat a lot of, I space it out. but it's still like more bagels than you want to. And also when you're in food, like you're friends with people who enjoy food, right? It's a very communal thing. So they want to go out to all the new restaurants, or you're friends with other food writers or whatever. And like also curiosity always gets the best of me. And so, I'll be like, I'm going to stay home. I really admire everyone who's like, I cook 5 nights a week. I'm like, great, I would love to do that. But then I'm like, oh, but Sushi Samba's back, It's like, maybe I don't know, like maybe I need to go. And then I find myself on a rooftop in WeHo that is so orange. And I'm like, it was, it's fine. It's great. Shout out to Sushi Samba. If anyone lived in New York during like the Sex and City era, like you will have a real familiarity with Sushi Samba. It is back, baby. And they have a resident DJ, so that's something. Anyways. Oh, you have one. I keep forgetting about it.
I'm hearing some familiar bits from everybody. I eat out mostly during the daytime, and so it's usually just me and the operator. In the mellow hours. Most of the time, they don't know who I am. It's a little hard for me to be discreet because I'm 5'10" with no hair and I'm black. So they usually know when I'm going in, but I usually like to not be known when I'm going in so I can have the best experience that can be reflected to anyone else who's going out. And because getting special treatment, it's not an accurate way of reporting whether or not you want to go to a restaurant. But the thing that resonates most with me is that I straddle on the introvert-extrovert side, and some people in this room have seen it, where they have taken me out. Yes, I'm looking at you, girl. They have taken me out, and my social battery is fully done. And these two right here have been like, just stay for one more drink. And my brain is like, I cannot speak anymore. I cannot hang out with people anymore. I just can't. And you see me, right? I just leave. And that's kind of, I have to. My brain is like fully like done. I'm on the phone all day. I'm slacking all day. And when my brain is done, like I got to go. So for me, that is the most difficult that I've had to deal with. I talk with my therapist about it. I talk with my friends about it. Like it's a lot because I just need to recover because of this job. This job requires a lot of us, and it comes with some abuse too. Like in the last 2 years, people have gotten very vocal about how we should be doing our jobs, about the things that we're doing wrong, and it's just like, y'all are so opinionated, which is why I retreat home when I'm ready to. But having said all of that, it's a great job. It's amazing. It is. We get to eat and drink and have a good time with people, and it's kind of awesome. But yeah, when I'm ready to go, or I have faked a phone call so I could leave too. Like I will just do it. I'm like, you guys, I have to go. But yeah, that is the long and short of it, and a little bit of.
But you bring up an interesting thing where it's like if you're not going out during the day or during like work hours, like. It is a really it adds all these hours to your job too. So it's like you could just technically be writing from 8 in the morning, and then by the time you get home from dinner, it's like 11, and it's like, where is your actual free time, for a life? And that's like something that you do really have to like, put into consideration. Otherwise, yeah, it's really easy to just spend all your time in the evenings like in restaurants, yeah, or weekends, like it all just gets sucked up into this. Also, because a lot of restaurants are closed, like Monday, Tuesday, things like that, like or like like it's they're best in service really on like Saturday nights sometimes, and so like that's when you do kind of want to see things, in their flow. But yeah, I also have this terrible thing now where like I have such a low tolerance for bad restaurants, and I can clock it so fast that like if like 20 minutes into a bad, I'm just like the grumpiest. Motherfucker on the face of the planet. Like someone should kick me out, like I just like I can't even like hide it at that point. My face betrays me. I want to leave. I should pull a Mona. That is like genius.
Fake
I'm gonna start
a phone
doing
call.
That. Yeah, I'm not even gonna fake it. I'm just gonna get up and leave.
So Mona, you talked about this abuse thing and how people are really opinionated, and independent restaurants in Los Angeles have had a hard time. I mean, we never really recovered from COVID, and then we had the fires, and then we had ice, and then we had, it's just hard. There are a lot of restaurants holding on by their fingernails, and I feel like there's a disconnect because I feel like all these people who are making food, and a lot of the times I feel like we're the bridge, like we need to reflect one side to the other. But I guess my question is, what would you wish diners knew about independent restaurants right now? Mona, why don't you start? Yes.
I wish that diners knew how, like, the amount of savings accounts, retirement accounts, just to make payroll or rent goes into operating a restaurant. Like, I've seen it. They're so committed to making sure that you get to try their food that they will deplete everything that they have. Their commitment, I think that you have to be a little crazy to operate a restaurant. The returns are so narrow or non-existent, but they're so committed to hospitality. I wish that more people really understood that. They're not trying to get over on you. No one is running a scam. More on that later. More on that later. I wish that more people really understood that, and also how many people have been, from the fires to the ICE raids, and like we've lost a lot of talent. A lot of talent has been snatched out of this town and deported. And these aren't just random folks doing the dishes. These are really skilled sous chefs, CDCs, people that have been doing this for decades that, make it very easy for the chefs to come in and look like rock stars. But the truth is that, it takes some guys from Oaxaca who have been doing this since 1997 who are gone or in hiding. I wish that more people understood that. I wish that more influencers understood that. So that I don't understand why anyone is doing any kind of negative reviews for Los Angeles restaurants right now while they're struggling more than ever. I don't know if you guys know, but this is such a treacherous time. Like, I think we're going to see more and more closures than we saw last year. And I don't know. That's all I got to say about that.
Yeah, I think restaurants are just up against invisible costs that a lot of people don't see, and also just the very global politics, et cetera, affect Los Angeles restaurants really deeply. Like, tariffs have affected everything, gas prices have affected everything. Food costs continue to go up. They're not going down. They're not going down anytime soon. And in a business where a 20% margin is a very successful restaurant, I don't know if there's any investors in this room. That's not a business that most people are willing to invest in those margins. And every one of those things shaves it off. Also, people don't realize in Los Angeles, the labor laws are actually not in a business owner's favor, and labor is very expensive in Los Angeles compared to Austin or even New York City. And so labor is such a high cost. And really eats into all of these margins that the restaurants are operating with. So basically, I just wish more customers would not be douchebags. Don't make double reservations and then forget to cancel. If you're gonna show up late, it is an art. It's a dance. Even for the host to be able to seat tables and keep the flow going. If you're gonna show up late, yeah, we get it. Los Angeles really does have traffic. I am the perpetually late one in my friend group, without fail. But I will call a restaurant, if I know I'm truly running late, and that gives them the option to shift our reservation 30 minutes back, 15 minutes back, or move a table around or whatever they need to do. And it's just little, it's little bits of common courtesy, I think, really go a long way, in this time. Yeah. I mean, in all times, but especially this time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I would echo a lot of what you both are saying. Obviously, there are a lot of invisible costs, and restaurants are running on incredibly thin margins. I also think the pile-on culture and just the eagerness to want to give a 1-star Yelp review or Google review because someone didn't deliver your entree in 15 minutes. I don't know, just the lack of grace that people have for service workers is really disappointing. I just think even if the service isn't perfect, people are allowed to have a bad day. People are allowed to be off. A chef is allowed to, maybe they didn't have a great day at the farmer's market. There are just so many variables that are happening in all of our lives, and I wish that people could extend a little bit more grace before jumping on Yelp and typing the most abusive, meanest comment, and it just doesn't. I just wonder what that serves beyond the social media of it all. So
They've said a lot that I agree with. Something I kind of been thinking about is We have lots of hype for things that with long lines. And whenever I see that, I'm like, oh, good for those businesses. But then, like, what if two of those people went to like a business that was struggling, or like kind of think about those things? Like, I feel like if we could spread the wealth throughout the city, that would be really nice.
Let me kind of twist this question a little bit. So tell me what it feels like to write a bad review.
I think the bad review is not in my repertoire. I've done. I would say like the biggest example that comes to mind was on my blog. You know, I think I went after like Gordon Ramsay. You know, he had a restaurant in the Grove. You know what I mean? And it was just a licensing thing, and like, and then the server was like this Nikoi salad. You know, and so. That's really because I only go after like these names that are not. I mean, I don't. That was the one time, but you know that are like you should be living up to your TV fame or these millions you're getting off these TV contracts, and like further from that, like beyond that, I just want like the audience or the diners to think about, okay, is what I'm doing helpful? Did you like maybe say to your server, oh, maybe this could have been like this or whatever, or did you just go home and Yelp about it? You know, and same thing with these influencers is basically, am I being helpful? And I think that's really the thing that people need to remember, or they're just clearly in for the gotcha. Yeah. So yeah.
I don't know. I'm never gonna trash a place. Like I'm not looking to write a. I'm not going into anything ever thinking I'm just gonna like drag this restaurant. I feel like I've been critical of things, but I try to be fair about it. And it's usually balanced. It's not just like a straight negative review. But I do feel that there is value in being critical and letting somebody know what a restaurant's strengths and faults are. I still think there's still value in that because it is, yes, I'm sharing a story behind the restaurant, but I'm also doing a reader service as well. Because when you go out to eat, it's your time and money, and you'd like to, and maybe I didn't like this one thing at the restaurant, but these 10 other things were great, so I'm steering you in that direction. So it's like, how best can I help you spend your money and time? So yes, no trashing, but fair, critical. It's okay.
You also said something to me when we spoke, which was that you like the chef to know that you really thought about what they were trying to do.
Yeah, I mean, and also like even though maybe I didn't like, this wasn't my favorite dish, but I'm still going to try to put in the work to understand what you were trying to do and what you were trying to tell me with this dish. So I can have an appreciation for it beyond me maybe not liking the way it was cooked or all the flavors in it.
Right, yeah.
I never had to file like negative reviews in the way that Jenn has to, but I always would do it's like criticism by omission. Like sometimes when you just refuse to cover a place, like that is sort of the statement, like yes, you sort of like some people just really do suck, and it's like you just don't write about them, or I feel like the kind of criticism I'm more prone to doing is more kind of like cultural criticism, right? Like criticizing a system at play or like something that multiple chefs are doing or whatever, rather than like singling out like somebody, which I feel like is probably how more of us kind of but do it. But I also do really value I'm sad that there's less and less like local critics these days, with like real budgets, like because when Jenn or when Bill like go and visit these, they do at least 3 visits, right? Usually, they've done it at multiple times, like across several months sometimes, and it's like it's a really necessary perspective, especially in an era with a lot of like, come with me, to like it's like the tism that can't get out of my brain. And these people are going once, so they're going for gotcha, they're going for like, they're like algorithm masters. And so they know that like dunking on something, is going to get them views versus someone like Jenn, who's like so thoughtful and like, she really wants to get to like, the core of like the business. I think it's just so important that we keep local criticism alive. Yeah.
Or they take it in the car
and
eat
man,
it. I'm sorry, you
cars.
can't get a full experience.
If I see one more person
car.
dunking pizza and butter chicken in the car, I'm going without like an adult bib, someone needs to get into the adult bib business. I talk about this all the time.
They never have a bib.
They
They're
never have a
dripping food
bib.
everywhere. That's the main thing that
And
bothers
listen,
me.
I love the food of my people, but like I'm not eating it in my car. Like, damn, dog.
All right, so now this next one is just one word, but it's a fraught word. And it feels also a little last week. But I still think, yeah, you are. Yeah, but I still think it's interesting because it's brought up a lot of conversation, like your Substack. You give a really good
Tap
thing,
is fine.
so we
Please
know
subscribe.
what the word is. The word is Noma. And everyone here knows what's happened. What happened was...
Anyone need a TLDR on Noma?
Yeah.
Oh, one hand. Okay. Who wants to do it? Not me.
I'll do it. I'm happy to. World famous chef, allegedly #1 in the world, made a name on quote unquote, making sure that he brought from the land and taught all these amazing things. It was hard to get in. He comes to LA with a residency. It all goes to shit very quickly.
$1,500 per ticket, by the way.
$1,500 per ticket, sold out in allegedly 4 minutes. It turns out that
Allegedly,
sustainability.
ooh.
Yeah, we don't know really if it actually sold out, but that's a whole other subject. We've heard rumblings of abuse for Rene Redzepi for years. Nothing was able to be confirmed until a protester decided to develop a website. The New York Times took all of those contacts and vetted every single one of them, and it was worse than what we could have imagined. From punching a woman in her ribs to stabbing someone with a fork, the snow circle. I don't know. I'm not even going to go into detail about that, but yeah,
Prep cook was listening to techno music. The chef did not like techno music.
Yeah.
Proceeded to beat up said chef. So
yeah, in the snow, surrounded by other workers, and it was bad. And he allegedly stepped down, and that was that.
Well, he stepped back from service. I think that's confirmed. He's still making money. I mean,
He's still there.
but apparently also okay, it's very
But
complicated.
I guess what I'm getting at is the bigger issue of fine dining and how we're tearing down these hierarchical structures around. But there's an argument to say that there is perhaps something that is lost at some point. I'd just like to hear what you talk about it. Yes.
Well, yes, this was a fine dining restaurant, but I feel like it's being used as an excuse for his horrible behavior. It's not, I don't know. There are so many fine dining restaurants where the chef is not verbally and physically abusing their staff. Like, that is just so wrong. Like, I don't know in what world is that okay. And that's why I was not assigned this essay I wrote, but I was so incensed by all of the chefs and other food people I saw in the comments of Renee's sort of apology, where he didn't really take responsibility for any of his behavior. And all these people being like, oh, well, if you're complaining, it's because you're weak or you don't know what it's like to be in a kitchen. I was like, no, that is not how it needs to be in a kitchen or any other workplace. That is completely unacceptable and illegal behavior. So I don't see that thanks. I don't see that it's an issue with fine dining. It's an issue with the people. It's kitchen culture. It's kitchen culture, but it's that kitchen's and it has been, unfortunately, a lot of kitchens cultures, but it was never okay. I feel like it was being used as an excuse by these abusive individuals to continue that behavior.
Though it can be argued that it's more often found in
It is.
fine dining,
It is,
right?
yes.
Because a lot of fine dining kitchens operate in kind of this like military structure, essentially.
There's lots of tweezers.
There's a lot of tweezers.
Pisses
This is
people
not
off.
to say, though, that there isn't a lot of abuse. There is abuse happening in like a burger restaurant too. Like this is not, but it's like a lot of those restaurants are kind of able to operate now. I found that there's a lot more chefs that are operating in systems that are not kind of, what Escoffier sort of introduced, which is like, this sort of military style like kitchen that leads to a lot of abuse. But yeah, it's bad behavior like across the board, and it should. But it is really crazy the number of people that are like defending Renee, and I'm like, Renee's not like seeing your comment. Like, he's not going to give you a free ticket to Noma just because you're like standing up for him.
Also, it's like
chicken tender
if
chef
you're-
in Portland, like.
That's why I was like, are you
That's
looking
a true
for a
story.
job?
Someone
or,
came for
like-
me. He makes chicken tenders in Portland. And on every Portland chef slid in my DMs being like, oh yeah, that man's a clown. So, which is its own thing. But
There's a ton of LA chefs who are making excellent tasting menus, have a wait list of people wanting to work for them who have little or no turnover in their kitchens because they treat and pay their staffs very well. I can name 10 at least that can fit within that. So for people to be apologetic in the Instagram comments for Chef Renee pissed me off too. But there is another way to do it. There is a way that values human beings over the service and the product. Like, I mean, what are we doing otherwise? You know? So it infuriates me. And you know the other thing that pisses me off is how much attention my publication and so many others have paid to Renee rather than restaurants that have been doing the work for years here in LA that aren't charging $1,500 a person. Even the most expensive tasting menu isn't even close to $1,500. And they deserve so much more attention than him.
And there's also this idea of, there's this presupposition that someone needs to come from Denmark to kind of explain to us what to do with our products and stuff like that.
He
And
walked from downtown to Malibu and said, it's a walkable city. I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? He was so bold in it. I'm like, what? Who?
I think it's
I talked to somebody who did go to Noma, and they said that the first 4 courses was just like a bunch of seaweed and random like seafood, and they were like, this is like Ariel's twisted spa menu, and I was like, yeah, it feels like, the dark side of the Little Mermaid out there. I don't know, I saw some photos and I was like, this just looks like Meteora. Like Jordan Kahn's plating. I don't know if you guys like know the chef. He owns Vespertine and Destroyer, and like he is he's also just like a wild mind. But like, you go to a Jordan Kahn restaurant, that money is going back to LA, right? Like if you're gonna, and also Meteora is cheaper and still has the crazy, and Vespertine is even cheaper. It still has the crazy plating and like the food that you're like, I don't know if this actually tastes good, but like it's interesting, Like you can still get that experience, and it, right here in your own backyard. Yeah. Yeah, correct.
I think it's also such like a weather vane or like a parallel to like capitalism, because like you hear like barely anybody canceled their reservation after, and these are people who paid $1,500. What are their values, right? So nobody canceled, and then you see all the chef comments that are like, they're the pick me. I'm on your side. I'm with the power. And that's, you see like the rest of the restaurant people see them like kind of like, which side they chose, So I just think I thought that was really revealing about people that I might not have known that about. So when you see those kind of comments, so
yeah. My guess is we have a lot of creators in the audience because we're in a creator campus. So what kind of advice would you give them for getting into food media? And what do you wish you knew? Now that you've made it all sound so attractive. Yes.
Advice. This kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, is that it's a lifestyle that you choose. Right. I feel like someone else was asking me this, one of our interns at work, if I had any advice for how to balance, like what does my work-life balance look like? And I was like, there's none. Like I'm at a restaurant. One of my best friends, Jane, is here, and she knows, like, I'm at a restaurant every single night. If we hang out, I'm like, it's going to be at this restaurant. Like, it's just, that's how I spend my weekends. It's a lot, but I love it. It's not a complaint, but it is like a full-on lifestyle. If you really want to do it, it's a lifestyle you choose. And also never read the comments on your stories.
Yes. If we can go out of order.
yes.
Khushbu alluded to it a little bit earlier, but I always, like when I'm talking to food journalism students or anyone who's trying to get into food, I always validate that like you have a lifetime worth of eating experience, and to really like, of course you want to hone in, you want to sharpen, you want to strengthen that, but don't undervalue that. Like you have expertise from the kitchen that is in your home that you grew up And I think just like leaning into that, validating that, I definitely had some imposter syndrome when I got into this field. And yeah, over time, you just realize like that unique perspective is what helps you develop your voice. And also like no one has your exact eating experience. No one grew up in your home and has like that specific like meld of cultures. And so I think like really leaning into that versus like trying to copy a voice or feeling like there's a specific cuisine, like, oh, I should be covering French food or I should be whatever it may be. Like, I really think leaning into what you already know is a great place to start.
I just think you have to like make sure that you are interested in actually saying something more than being like, this is delicious. You know, there's a lot of people who think that they're going to be interested in food writing because they like to eat, but being a food writer is about, or just anyone who's creating content around food is more, well, except maybe these TikTokers who are eating in their cars. You know, it is about more than just like what is directly in front of you. You know, like to be really good at this, you have to be able to like connect this to something larger. Like, why does this matter right now? Why should I care about this? Who is behind this? You know, why is this actually interesting? Like, there's so much more to be said. Like, a plate can actually be so revealing about like politics, history, economics. Like, that's actually why I've always been so interested in food too, is that it's like such an interesting lens into almost every other aspect of the world. Like, you can talk about everything through the lens of food, and it's so cool. Like, I mean, I just went to this restaurant in Glendale called, I can never pronounce it, Yarod Mas. And it's like the district in Armenia, you know, in the neighborhood in Armenia that the chef's like father grew up in. But his family in the genocide, you know, had to go to Syria. And then like Stalin had them repatriate to, like, I mean, it's a hell of a family story. But the menu is so interesting because you're seeing like touches of Armenian food, but also I was like, why is there a fattoush on this menu? A fattoush is a very like Levantine salad. You'll find it Lebanese menus, Syrian menus, things like that. But I was like, you know, really, it's not something you see on a lot of Armenian menus in Glendale. And also like the dressing on it is so different than any other fattoush I've ever had. And so I asked the chef, and he's like, oh yeah, like my family actually spent a lot of time in Syria, you know, because of it. And so it's now part of our family's like food history, which is so interesting. And now he's doing all this, you know, via LA. So it's all like farmers market produce in this fattoush, right? Like stuff that is grown in coastal California, like a really great pomegranate molasses, like dressing. And it's next to, you know, this crazy Iraqi fish thing that also is like part of his family's history. I don't know, it's just so interesting. And it's like, that's the stuff that's really cool. Not like, this salad, tasty, nom nom. You know, like that's like, it's like that. To be really good at it, you have to have something to say. And I think that's the thing that we're lacking in a lot of stuff. Sorry to really rant about this, but like, there's a lot of popular even like cooking creators, like, you know, they've like cooking influencers have like cookbooks that have come out, but like they're the worst cookbooks, but because they actually have nothing to say. You know, they're really good at the algorithm, and that's a skill in and of itself. But I just wish more people would get into this, you know, that really actually want to like explore the stories or get to know the people behind it. Like, I'm obsessed with that influencer actually who eats like a stack of gummies and is in like Long Beach somewhere. Yo, she is the best. She just gets like hella high and then like goes into some restaurant, orders more food than like anyone like should. Like for herself, she's wearing like the Meta glasses, doing the whole thing, but she's like amazing. And like she really cares. I have written down personally so many restaurants that she has like gone to. I'm like, yeah, maybe I'd wander to this, you know, it's amazing. Like that's the type of, you know, influencer or content creator I'm like really interested in. Like she's really interested in her community and is like super high in the process. So it's like really fun. But I mean, listen, that was also my dream series. My name is Khushbu. So like my Twitter handle used to be Smoke That Kush when I was in college. And then I wanted a job. But I really always tried to get this like video series called Kush on Kush, but no one gave it to me. So I think I'm just living through her. Yeah.
I love that. And her last video, she crashes out because she took too many gummies. It's hilarious. Fully agree with you. Like when people ask what I do, I say that I'm a culture writer about restaurants and hospitality in LA, and Eater has allowed me to explore areas that I'm really fascinated by. So each of our team has their areas where we're all encouraged to just dig right in. So Matthew Kang, he's all about Koreatown, and he loves a good steakhouse, and he's bougie as hell. He will describe himself that way, and so he loves a good fancy meal. Kathy Chaplin, she's all about workers' rights and restaurants that are dedicated to that. For me, it's definitely Black LA and South LA, and and there's even a cannabis story that's coming out next week around consumption lounges. Like, I've just been able to explore those little areas, and and you'll to find more stories just pop out of those areas of focus are the most fascinating and compelling, and then to have your editor tell you just go for that, just keep going, is a gift, because I'm passionate about it, and so it's easy to write about. And to have a team that can encourage you to think in a different manner that's beyond the concept of a story or in that subject matter is also so valuable. I'm only as good as my team, who says, well, you might want to remember this thing that you wrote way back when, and then there's this other writer, and then we're talking, and it just turns into a much more thoughtful story, and I love that. So it's I feel really blessed to be able to do this, but that is the thing that I would recommend. Like, figure out what that super hardcore focus is, and just go deep, and then dig a little bit more, and then some more, until you get to the good stuff. That's all.
I think we should open it up for questions. Do we have questions here? Zoe in the back, please.
Great job, everyone. This has been so interesting. I've been really loving Samin Nosrat's podcast on cooking, and they always start it with like the best thing that they've eaten recently. And I would love to hear from you guys just the best thing, the best bite, the best dish you've had recently, and where it was from.
I'll go. Third Window in Santa Barbara has the best hamburgers. The family owns a farm, like a few miles up the road in Santa Barbara, where they get their meats. And just go and order any one. There's a brewery attached to it. Get a pint and just go and grub and sit outside. It's delicious. It was their bacon hickory barbecue burger. It was fantastic.
I'm going to bring up Yerod Moss again. It's spelled Yerordmas, in Glendale. He does this pistachio hummus that's based off of a 14th century Syrian recipe. I don't know, it slaps. And he makes the best pita I think I've ever had in Los Angeles, and I think I've eaten through most of the pita in Los Angeles. And there's a lot of excellent pita in Los Angeles, but this beats like Bavel's pita, which I think is one of the best. It is truly mind-blowing. It's like an oddly very casual restaurant there's parking, which is, vibes. And that's very important to me. It determines half the places I go to. But yeah, it's like really stellar food, and it's home of that fattoush that I can't stop thinking about too. He got very famous for he had a pop-up that did this, it's still on the menu, which is like a Wagyu pastrami brisket pita thing with like a Mornay sauce and like pickles, and it's a thick boy. But so that's available, but there's everything else on the menu is also just like a true gem. Yeah. And it's truly one of those restaurants that you can just only find in LA. Sorry, I woke up obsessed with this place. I don't know. Yerord Moss. Can't. One day I'll pronounce it.
I've been super obsessed with Maiden Market. It's I'm pretty close to West Adams, and so that has been just my spot that I love popping in. I love Lugya and the Tlayudas. I love Milena, which is Afro-Mexican little stand there, and they have these really great smoked sea bass tacos. They have a rotating vendor too that switches out every 4 to 6 weeks, so there's always something new to try. And then the whole just scenery is very vibey and beautiful. And then they have a great little bottle shop that I don't think people know about. It's called Souk, and the owner, Rose Previte, really she sources wines from regions that are really underrepresented. So if you ever want to try Syrian wine or Palestinian wine, and most of the bottles are under $50. I got a great Palestinian wine for $25. So I'm there like once a week.
I've been, I keep going back to Camellia for their abalone pot pie. And I know, I'd been eating it with two people, like me and another person. And then a few weeks ago, I went by myself and I ate by myself. And I was like, this is perfect portion for just me. So it has like king trumpet mushrooms and snail butter. And it's like perfect puff pastry. So highly recommend.
Did you sit at the bar?
Yeah, I sat
Yeah.
at the bar.
It's been a month since I've been there, but I think, but going back to the topic of fine dining, I think one of the most underrated spots is Celine in Santa Monica.
Yeah.
And I kind of have a connection because like David is from Chicago, and I might be too late, I don't know, but he did this winter menu where it was like literally like a Midwestern winter, and it just really kind of took me back. So it was, yeah. Anyway. But he got nominated for chef, I think, recently. So I'm very happy to see that. Yeah, for James Beard. So.
He's also a really nice guy.
Yeah, he is.
He is.
Yeah. He comes out to every table. Yeah.
He also owns Pajoli if you can't go to Celine. Yeah.
Right.
Down the street. Yeah.
French bistro.
I think mine would be a mushroom French dip sandwich from a restaurant and bakery in San Pedro called Colossus Harbor. The breads there, they also have a bakery, Colossus Bread, and this is kind of like their all-day cafe that they open down the street, and it is a fantastic, like crusty baguette, Long Beach mushrooms, like oyster mushrooms that are cooked until they're like frizzled and crispy. There's melted Munster cheese. There is like a nose tingling like hot horseradish on there, and it comes with this mushroom jus, and you dip it, and it is like Arby's could never. Like it is very satisfying. Very good. Yeah.
Really look up to all of you guys. Seriously, such a big fan. So thank you for all your insight. I'm kind of like an amateur food wannabe journalist. I'm a physician. I have nothing to do with this, but
You did the right thing.
Yeah. I have my own relationship to food because of that, right? We can all be on statins. Okay, anyways. There's so many questions to ask, but let me just choose one.
Can everyone hear you okay? Do you want this? Yeah.
Sorry, am I not loud? Sorry. So many questions to ask. Was a huge fan of Jonathan Gold, but for decades, he wrote on leaning heavily on the word like authenticity in LA, and having watched the city's dining. Sorry, I wrote it all down, so I'm sorry if I'm looking at my phone. But evolved through waves of fusion, fine dining, diasporic cuisines. Do you feel that the concept of authenticity has become like a cage for chefs of color, or does it still hold value as a standard of culinary integrity?
It's interesting.
I mean, that was well phrased. No, that's great. I think it's a cage that people like to put on chefs of color, writers of color, people of color generally. I think authenticity, again, is subjective to anyone's experience. I think it's more about intention and respect at the end of the day above everything. Like, what does authenticity really mean in that sense? Like, my authentic Indian American experience is very different than even somebody else who also grew up. I grew up in Michigan, someone who grew up in Texas, in a South Indian family versus like my family's from Gujarat. Like, we have very different authentic Indian American experiences. But like it's all about, just like intentionality. And I also think fusion gets like a dirty rep. Like, a lot of people like to call it the other F word, but like fusion, again, when done with respect and again, intentionality is actually like, to me, it's just the evolution of cuisine. Like there's a lot of dishes that we don't even think of as fusion at this point that actually in its origins are fusion, right? It's just now we're so used to it being combined in like what it is. Like, think of like a banh mi. Like, that is technically a fusion dish at the end of the day, right? Where like it's the Vietnamese riff on a French baguette, turned into like a sandwich. Pate is a French thing, right? Like, colonization, as much as it sucks, does have some delicious end results. And I'm gonna get canceled for saying that, but But again, like, so I don't think of fusion as like a dirty thing. I think it's actually, especially in LA, where you are seeing the confluence of so many cultures naturally. It's not unreasonable to see, like, I think it's actually a beautiful thing when you start seeing, like, I love that there's this new Korean pasta Italian restaurant, right, called La Paba.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's such a LA thing, right? Like, K-Town is so big here. Like, of course, like, every chef and every, person wants to, like, use the ingredients. Also, the Korean, like, supermarkets, like, really slap. If you ever want to get mushrooms for a really good price, like, edible, like the cooking kind, culinary mushrooms. I don't know what their pipeline is there, but, like, king oyster mushrooms, you can truly get them for, like, $3 for a giant pack. That's my, like, secret. You go to California Market, and it's there. Also, scallions, really cheap, 99 cents, giant bunch. Anyways, but, like, to me, that's, like, such an LA restaurant. That's not, like, wow, so weird to combine, like, Italian and Korean. No, that's, like, pasta, it has a really, great culture here. Korean food has a really great culture here. Of course, everyone is mixing and matching and borrowing from each other. But it's a very intentional restaurant, and, and I think that's what makes it really great. So someone might argue that's not authentic, but, like, okay, like, go, I mean, fine. Like, if you want to only eat super authentic stuff, I don't know, I feel like you're caging yourself in at that point, too. It's just boring, like, yeah.
Yeah, as an editor, whenever I see the word authentic being described or being used to describe cuisine or a restaurant, like, I usually try to interrogate that with the writer, just because I don't think it's our place to say what is authentic to someone else. And I think it's more helpful to be like, okay, well, like, what are you trying to get at? Are you trying to say that, like, this is their unique point of view? Like, but at this point, it's just such a loaded term that, yeah, I think I prefer to kind of look at it more as, like, are they being intentional? Are they treating the food with respect? And then also, like, taking into account, like, yeah, what is their perspective? What is informing what has landed on my plate? But in general, when I see it used in food writing, I think it's a little bit lazy.
It's opaque. It's an opaque descriptor. But also, here's another thing. Authenticity isn't a guarantee that your restaurant's going to succeed. At a very desperate time when restaurants are really struggling to survive, I'm not mad when I see a very normcore kind of restaurant operate because they will get customers in. Houston's is probably the best example. The one in Pasadena is packed every night. And I'm not mad at them for that because, like, I can get a really good salmon and a cocktail there and it will deliver every single time. This is what they've been doing for decades. And, do what you got to do. They are job creators, they're tax revenue. I believe in what they do. But for me, the most fascinating thing to focus on is why and how exactly most of these restaurants have staying power decade after decade. Like, like the super old ones in Boyle Heights that have been around for like 100 years. Like, how exactly what meaning do they have to the community? That's what's going to dictate their success. Authenticity is not. They mean something to the surrounding community. And to me, that's the thing that I always think about when I'm writing a story, like, what does this restaurant mean to LA in the best way? And sometimes that means checking in with not only the operators, but also the people who go there.
I think we're, how do we feel about another 5 minutes? Are we good with that? Okay, Noah.
Thank you. Really learning a lot here. The planet is dying, and just a reminder for everyone not to be that guy, but it is quite literally on fire. What responsibility, if any, do you feel like you have to influence more sustainable choices for us readers?
I can take it if you want. Go for it, though.
Esther has thoughts.
Go,
Okay,
girl.
So especially with Noma again, I think as far as sustainability, okay, you can you use lemon in a recipe and then you use the peel in the cocktail. That's like, I feel like a lot of where sustainability has just been like tunnel vision on, but it's just so much more than that. It's like worker wages. It's like what is the culture in your kitchen? Like sustainability also has to extend to workers. But as far as sustainability and like corporations, like for instance, like Cisco just bought Restaurant Depot. And so we have like our food systems are just, I just feel like it's a little bit, I hate to sound like fatalist, but there are just huge systems in place that like small businesses and small restaurants have a hard time extracting themselves out of because of high costs. So I think like as far as sustainability, I just want to encourage diners to look at where they're spending their money. I know it's hard and it's like more of from a privilege standpoint, but yeah, I wish I had a better answer.
Yeah. Oh.
Just like as a freelance writer, I also feel like who you write about or what restaurants you want to write about. Like sometimes you have to think about, are they being sustainable? Are they doing, whose voices are we going to uplift? And I feel like those like things I think about a lot more now.
Yeah, I think it's finding more excuses to be able to write about people that do really focus on sustainability. But also it's championing the things that kind of matter more. Like I actually really struggle with all these places. I know I mentioned a Wagyu, like brisket, whatever, pita thing, but like you actually won't find me writing much about, things like that, like a lot of Wagyu, a lot of things that are really environmentally challenging and not very sustainable. Like I feel like there's all this like hype around it, these days, a lot of, and also just the beef of it all lately. There's just the beef tallow, everything is just like a beef product. I saw this thing called beef puffs the other day, and I was like, this is disgusting. Like, I just won't give in to the protein maxing of it all either, because it's just like not actually good for the environment. I would just rather try and champion that people, I wrote a best vegetarian and vegan sandwiches roundup for LA Times. Yeah, just to like, without, I think like I'm working on a story right now for the New York Times about how I think we've actually solved the straw problem. Like, I don't know if you guys remember that video about like save the sea turtles because there's like a straw up the nose. But because of this, it's been this like 10-year journey. Most places and chains, et cetera, are like actually using compostable straws at this point. And it's this kind of like interesting, positive environmental and sustainability story. I think, a lot of things that are tied to sustainability currently feel very like you must make a personal sacrifice, and like people don't actually want to do this. And so I think for me, it's more like it's kind of that idea of like, instead of taking away something from your meal, just like add a vegetable. It's more like highlighting, I'm not telling you to not eat beef, but like, let me just show you all these like sandwiches that don't use these like, environmentally intensive ingredients that are also just as fucking delicious. Like, why don't we point you in that direction, or like, show you that these things are also just as cool and making them just as cool. And, I don't know, I don't really think that's maybe necessarily enough at the end of the day, but it's kind of like my small part, in it all, yeah.
Oh, I got nothing.
Mona says fuck the environment.
Wrap up, yeah. So this was fun, and I would really like to keep going, but I think we should go get a cocktail. So thank you very much. Thank you.